So today we're going to be setting you up and showing you how to get ready to do some 3D printing. We're going to make some 8-bit keychains / fridge magnets, and this is actually the template that you're going to use to help make yours. We've given you 2 examples of ones that I've made, and those are in the template. You can sort of take them apart and see how they're made, and when you're done, your graphic, as it says here, must fit in this box. So let's get started. First thing you're going to do is bring up Google and look for some 8-bit images. Now there's all sorts of different 8-bit stuff out there. Some of it fantastic, some of it horrible. So the one that I'm going to use, because it's a really easy one to get us started here, is let's find a good decent picture of Luigi or Mario. So this is the one I've saved here. Now one of the reasons I picked this one because for demonstration purposes, it works really well because they've actually got it separated into the actual blocks. Now yours doesn't have to do this, but it really helps when you're counting out and figuring out how big yours is going to be. So what you have to understand when we're doing this is we're starting from a box and we're literally just extruding out boxes from that original box. Now the key thing is picking your 8-bit image at its widest part and starting there. So I wouldn't start down here at the shoes because there'd be end up 2 separate boxes and somehow I'd have to turn them into one box. I could start up at the hat. It wouldn't be a bad way to go. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start right here sort of at his arms because this is the widest part of my image. Now if I start counting, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I know that my Mario needs to be a box started off that has 12 segments in it. So let's show you how that would work. Just get rid of these 2 guys for a minute here. So I'm going to switch to my top-down view because that's really the best way to get this started. And I'm going to start with a box. And it doesn't really matter how big your box is because you can always scale it later. So I'm going to start out like that and make sure my edged faces are turned on because I need to have, not that way, 12 segments here. And again, why did I pick 12? Because my Luigi here is 12 across. Now one of the issues you'll see here right off the bat is that right now we've sort of got more of a rectangle going on than we do a square, and 8-bit images are done with squares. So there's a couple different ways we could do this. We could either stretch this out until they become a little more squarey. Now it's getting to become a pretty big box, but that's all right. Let's see, that looks pretty close. Let's stretch it out just a little bit more. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you want this to be a fairly square shape to get started with. So that'll be the start of my Luigi, right across here. Next thing I need to do is I need to put an edit Polygon. And we need to start doing some counting and some figuring out on how this is going to work. So I'm going to switch back to perspective for a minute here. And again, height-wise, we don't need it to be overly tall. We don't need it to be square up and down. This is actually a pretty good height, probably for what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to start off here, and I'm going to go on to Polygon. Now, the absolute most important thing, and I can't stress this enough, is that you have to be really, really careful that you're only working with the sides, and your sides are only going out like that. And it's important enough that I'm going to do this a couple times. Your bottom of your 8-bit graphic here must be completely flat. You cannot take and do this. That's no longer flat. It's got an angle on it. Even the slightest angle will mess up your print. The printer needs to have, printer has a flat bed on it, so the part that goes flat on the printer, which is going to be the bottom, needs to be perfectly flat. If you, like I said, if you even take one vertex and go like this accidentally, that's going to screw up the print. And with hundreds of these to print, we can't afford to have them screwed up. So it's super, super important that really all you're doing here is you're grabbing faces and extruding them out. So I'm going to start with my Luigi here, and I'm going to go down. So again, if this is the guy I started on here, my next one is going to be 12 across. So that's actually quite easy. All I'm going to do is hold Control, and I'm going to go along, select all 12 of them, and I'm going to click on Extrude, and I'm going to pick an amount that, again, creates roughly a square. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it needs to be about a square. So for me, that's 30 units. So that's good. I'm going to hit OK. Now I've created two. So I've got this one done and this one done. So I actually know by looking at this that my next two are going to also be 12 units wide. So I'm going to do another extrude, and the units are automatically in there. That's the great thing. I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm going to do one more extrude and hit OK. Right now it's not a very fancy graphic, but it's essentially got us these four here. Now the fun begins. We need to do his legs. So we need to skip 2, do 3, skip 2, do 3, skip 2. So what we're going to do is deselect that. We're going to not grab the first two. Let me just make this widescreen, help you see it better. I'm going to grab one, holding Control, 2, 3. I'm going to leave the part for his crotch. Then I'm going to come back and do 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to extrude that out. And again, keep my units the same at 30 and hit OK. So that should, if we sort of rotate that around and take a look at it from the top, that should be us right up to here. Now what we need to do is we need to do the legs. Now this one's a little bit tricky because we can pull these two down pretty easily, but we can't pull this guy down from nowhere. So we're going to have to think a little bit for this one here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab these two and these two. And again, I'm going to extrude them down, about 30 units. But now what do I do? Because my Mario has 3 here. So the smart people are probably saying, well, you need to extrude out from here. And again, I'm going to keep that 30 units wide. Then I'm going to go around to this side, and I'm going to do an extrude out of here. So that's got us our 3 now for his feet. And now we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to extrude 3 down from each one and then do an extrusion out for the toe. So again, you'll notice all I'm doing is just Control. And if you're the sort of person that might accidentally do that and move it, what you might want to do from the very get-go is use Select Object. We've been using Select and Move, but Select Object is really quite easy because you can't accidentally move it then. So again, Select Object might be a better way to go. Grab those 3. Again, always rotating around to make sure you didn't accidentally grab that one. And I'm going to extrude those out again. Hit OK. Then I'm going to come around to the side here, and I'm going to extrude that guy out. 1 for the toe. And then extrude this one out. 1 for that toe. So that's got the bottom half of our Luigi. And right now it doesn't really look like a lot. The head will really bring this in and start making it look cool. So now I need to go, and the neck is 6 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to zoom around to the top here, and I'm going to grab 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to extrude that up. And then the bottom half, including the mustache, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But again, we're going to have an issue that we really can't extrude these two in this one until we do our next extrusion up. So I'm going to extrude this one up 6, because that's all we can really do. Then I'm going to come around, and I'm going to bring out the mustache 2 units from here. So I'm going to extrude that out once and extrude it out again. And then I'm going to come around here to the back of the head, grab that guy, and extrude that out one time. So that should be there. Now the next one, again, I basically need to extrude this whole row up and then add one on either side again. So we'll come around here, we'll grab 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And once again, we'll extrude that up. Oops, look what happened there. Something weird happened there. Let me just check here. Ah, I see what happened. Look at that. Perfect chance to correct my problem. So what happened earlier, when I extruded this, when I was doing this selection here, look what happened. I accidentally grabbed that guy down there, not even knowing, and I just extruded it out. But it can't extrude that straight out, so it angles the whole thing down. So all I need to do is Control, unselect that, and now do my extrusion again. Now again, if I wouldn't have caught that, it would have screwed up my whole print because the bottom wouldn't have been flat. So it's always good. Like I said, even someone that's done this a dozen times can easily screw up and select the wrong thing. So that's going to be this one here. So I need to add one there for the hair and one there for the nose. Okay, we're getting there. Now we need to take a look at our picture again. And now we're going to do all of it except one here. So that's easy. Again, holding Control and clicking and making sure that each time I click something turns red. Checking the bottom, that looks good. And do another extrude of that up. And then now here we need to just do a little bit of counting and make sure. So we're going to not get these two, and we're not going to get one at the back. So that's the back there if we rotate back around. So we're going to grab this one and all the way over except two, like that. Do another extrude out for his head. So that's that one right there. Now we need to do the two more here for his hat, and then we're done the first part of this. So I'm going to keep all that highlighted. I'm going to extrude it all up again. Then I'm going to come around to the front, and I'm going to extrude this guy out twice. There we go. And that's got the hat out to equal with the bottom of that nose. And now last row we're going to do here, 5 along the top, starting one in from the back. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And extrude those. And technically, we have an 8-bit Mario. Now, the problem with our 8-bit Mario is it doesn't look a lot like an 8-bit Mario. It looks like something. I'm just going to slide this up just a bit here so it makes it easier to see. So, and this is where really your art comes into it in your eye. So what you need to decide, if we print this out, no one's going to know what it is. So you need to decide which of these units need to come up and provide the 3D, because right now we've created kind of a flat 2D Mario. So what I'm going to show you here, and I'm not going to do the whole thing because it's going to take me a while, but I'm going to show you the other ones we've done. So if we zoom in here, you'll see here this Pumbaa that I did last year. What we decided to do is I kept sort of the bottom flat there, and then I did one extrude up for the feet and for the body, and then we did another extrude up for the eyes, and then another extrude up for the eyebrows. So it created, like, we've got 4 different heights here to create a really cool looking 3D Pumbaa there. Now I've also did a Space Invader, and the Space Invader was very similar, We wanted to just do a couple extrudes on it though, so we've got sort of notched down the corners here and one extrude up. What I would do with our Mario, so let's look at our picture of Mario here. I think I'm going to leave everything in yellow flat. So his face and his arms are going to stay at 1 unit high. I'm going to extrude up the pants a unit up, and probably the boots maybe 2 units. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select, because anything that touches, you don't want to do the pants up 1 unit and then the shoes up 2 units, because you're going to end up with a weird edge in here that's going to cause problems. So if you're looking at extruding something up and including these little buttons here, which are probably going to go up 2, you need to think about the whole thing as 1 unit here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select everything in the body, because everything in the body except the hands is going up 1 unit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off here, and I'm just going to start clicking. Again, use your select object, holding control down. And this is where it sort of hurts your brain a little bit, thinking and trying to figure out all of these as one big object. So I'm going to keep going. I'm just going to move this off the screen for a sec so I can look at it. Again, I know you want to do this as separate objects, but you really need to envision doing the whole thing as one big extrusion going up. Oh, no, not that one there. And then I'm coming across here all the way, like there. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to grab everything, come across here. All of level 2 will come up at one time. And that's where it makes people's brains hurt a little bit, because you want to just do, well, I want the feet to go up a certain amount this way. Basically, you need to say, whatever's level 1, I'm not selecting. So everything that's level 1 is going to stay down. And I'll show you that in just a minute here. The whole head. Like that. Oh, 1 sec, let me come back here. And let me grab his hat. And his eye. Oh, I can already see where I messed up one little bit. I forgot one row in here, but for demo purposes, this will still work. So basically what I'm doing now is I've gone in and I've selected everything that's not yellow, because I want my yellow to stay at the lowest part. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an extrude up. And we don't want it to come 30 this time. We don't want this thing to be super thick. So we want to keep it about the same extrusion that we originally did. So probably somewhere, and you can just eyeball it, but somewhere around like that. So on mine, it's about 8 basically. And that brings you up everything for the first entire level. So that starts to form my Mario. Like I said, I can see I forgot this row here, but that gets me my start of my Mario. And then what you basically need to do is say, okay, what's going to go up another level? So if I've decided that my boots are going to come up another level, then I would go in like this and I would highlight them all. And now because I want my pants to stay at this level, I don't have to worry about highlighting them. They're going to stay at this level. and I can just do a quick extrusion of the boots alone because the boots don't have any touching faces. So I'm going to bring that up like that, and those are my boots. Now I can come in here and I can say, okay, his little, what do we call those? Parts for his little buttons would come up 1 notch. And those will look really cool when you color them later. And then you can come in and say, okay, I want his hat to come up a 3rd time. Generally, 3 is probably going to be the max that you're going to come up. Sometimes you might do 4. So I'm going to come up again a 3rd on the hat. And then as we start to look at that and you start to see, you know, what you'll be able to do later is we're going to color these with Sharpies. So you'll be able to come in easily and color the boots one color, the pants another color, the buttons a color, the hands a color, his mustache and all that will go up a color. And having the extrusion in there will make that really easy to do. So that's the basic idea. Then what you would do once you've got yours all finished is you would just click on your scale and resize and make sure you scale in the middle here because you want to scale the whole thing down together. And then you just want to scale and move that in so that it fits it'll fit in this area right like this. And you know once you've got it fitting in the box, you're ready to hand it in. So that guy fits pretty much right like that. We bring it down here. We know it fits in the box, so it's going to fit on our printer. Once you're done that and you know it fits, of course, you would have saved a couple times by now. Then what you have to do to hand this in is you go up to the max button here and you go export. And you're going to export this as an STL file. It's the file that our printer understands. You're going to make sure you name it your name. And then whether you want it to be a magnet, you put magnet. Or whether you want it to be a keychain, you put keychain. And save it to your desktop for now. You're going to hit OK. Again, make sure that before you do the export, you do have your object selected. You only want to select and export just this object. You don't want to take everything in the scene. So once you have that done as an STL file, that can then be handed in to your teacher's hand-in folder, and we can start printing them. Thank you for listening to this talk.